Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our current semifinal matchup, of course, here for the UMG Prime $25 search and destroy only taking place here between West Coast and PrimeChamps. We just got to witness the guys from West Coast take down a worthy opponent in the squad known as Cats Can Climb, which was TCM, Rallied, Dido, and Twiz. They beat them in a map number 3 and actually won that exact map. That was on St. Marie du Mans in a hot 6-0 fashion. So at least this squad is feeling very confident. Of course, the guys from PrimeChamps got to be feeling the exact same way. Of course, making your way to a semifinal of a Prime tournament, especially being search and destroy, is obviously a very difficult feat in itself. But speaking of difficulty, or difficult feats rather, Onyx 1v3, spotting out Frosty from the flank, gets the nice wall bang to finish things out. His position is known into the top control. Wrapping back around, nice shot onto BigBobbyJinx as well. Onyx could potentially be closing out this 1v3. The one player left standing in his way is going to be Cannify. We know anything about this guy. For the guys on West Coast, he was the guy who was dropping big numbers in both of their map victories. It was 16 kills, I believe he found on Ardennes Forest. With Onyx already starting off 3-0. It could start to put some pressure on him, but does he go for the seek defuse? Looks like it is possible. Onyx trying to go for the challenge. Can he find the gunfight is the question. Getting shots from all different point of views. A much-needed ace, a 1v3 needed for Onyx. Can he get it done is the question. Cannify still challenging. 20 seconds left, and every single time that starts to tick, Cannify starts to feel more and more pressure. Onyx checking along the bomb site. Obviously backs up, and now has another opportunity to go at this, and will find it. Gets the headshot for good measure, finds the ace, and better known, finds the 1v3. A big amounts of momentum. Starting off with U.S.S. Texas, of course, here for the side of PrimeChamps is a very interesting round, but the first round of this series. Things are starting off good here, Jen.
Well, it's pretty amazing start there for PrimeChamps, and an ace to start off, and Onyx, I'm just going to quickly take a look if he's going to be close to streaks. I mean, 25 points off of pretty close to being fully streaked out, and that's a huge advantage to get into this S&D, and not only maybe possibly some information in the map, depending on what the other team is running, but maybe even a guaranteed kill. But with how much players like to play inside of shit, possibly that won't end up with a kill, but we'll see how maybe getting streaks later on in the round will turn out for him, where BigBobbyJinx will have the bomb in hand and possibly knows there's a player inside of ship, but they have to be wary of this flank that could come from ship, as they're not really committed to either bomb site, really relying on the sniper work from his teammates to get the first blood, and there it is, Onyx shutting him down from the streaks I was talking about. No advantage there.
And I think in Onyx's position, what he's basically trying to do is waiting for the offensive team to really make a push toward a particular bomb site, because once they do that, he can kind of come through the flank, find an easy kill, maybe earn those streaks, if not be very, very close to those. So with him kind of waiting that passively, I think he was kind of just a little bit too over-aggressive in the fact of trying to challenge something. I think that all kind of comes through the fact that, hey, the opposition just took forever to try to challenge onto a bomb, and he obviously pays from it as Cannify gets greeted with the nade. PapiWrek yells, catch! And speaking of streaks, PapiWrek, along with finding the hat trick, will also find the defuse as well. So while Onyx, unfortunately, does get picked off from a potential streak earned, PapiWrek is just as close here at the end of round number 2.
2 consecutive rounds, and I mean, what a huge takeaway from that. And if you were a West Coast, you're not totally disappointed from that round. You got the first blood, but onto Onyx, who was 25 points off a streak, so shutting that down was probably the most important part of that round. So being down 2-0, it's not that big a deal, and really surprising it turned out that way when they had the first blood in the first place. Yeah. But nonetheless, giving that bomb to Zaptius, and again, this is going to be a standoff type of round, it seems. Both these teams really relying on the first pick from the snipers before engaging towards the objective, and not even using smokes, or you hear a couple nades going around, but it's not really making much of an impact based on a distance between these two teams. But mainly going to be these subs pushing it through ships, possibly going for a flank, or maybe getting caught on a flank and first blooded for the team. That'll start the action for this map.
And really, if you're PapiWrek, I mean, he finds the nice stand on the Cannify. I was going to say, why does he really push up to that position when he still has to be wary that a sniper rifle could be back here at any moment? TTinyy finding the pick at the same time. BigBobbyJinx shuts down Zaptius. And man-count advantage right now for BigBobbyJinx and co from the side of West Coast, but that could quickly change. Hit markers earned, but in the end, it's going to be SSaggioo left in a 1v3 spot. Realizes TTinyy's position, and now has to try to force another way at it. And I believe along with PapiWrek dropping. That's also another situation where we talked about how PrimeChamps could be in a good spot to earn those streaks. Both players have been picked off, so no streaks in the back pocket for PrimeChamps heading into this round number 3. And speaking of kind of a little bit of a loss of momentum, it seems that the first round is chalked up there on the board for the guys of West Coast. It's TTinyy doing work with that sniper rifle. In the prior series, he was a big nuisance when it kind of came down to St. Marie-du-Mont map where, sniper rifles can definitely be prevalent. It's not at all unorthodox to not see one from time to time, but he was definitely a major thorn in the side and obviously proving to be exactly that right now in this current match where, of course, snipers are normally out to play. We were kind of discussing heading into tonight's tournament, of course, the 4v4 Prime search and destroy only here, Jen, about how useful the sniper rifles are. Will we see maybe like an infield or maybe even an M19 get brought out? But it's been pretty much only cars that have kind of been displayed tonight, as it seems that it is still, at least for the search and destroy community, the more favorable sniper rifle of the overall 4.
Well, again, this has been probably 3 consecutive rounds now that West Coast start off with the first blood, and only round one out of all of those. And this time, they try and push through ship and able to secure themselves 2 kills and only trading out 1 teammate in that case, where BigBobbyJinx is now planning over at A, and Onyx will be just right under him and possibly spots him and does get the kill. Knows the bomb is down. PapiWrek is going to be pushing from ship, gets the kill into Cannify, and GloFrostyyy has no response in that case. 1 versus 2, doable situation. At least knows somewhat the whereabouts that PapiWrek is going to be in the ship, and Onyx will be onto the far end, but still a very difficult engagement. He has the air on hand, most likely going to maybe go for the long range, at least recover the bomb, see if he can get the bomb down safely and make this more of a time situation, but gets spotted out by Onyx, who Onyx secures himself the 2nd kill, I believe, of this game, or of this round. Right. 7-2 currently, and he was the guy that got shut down from streaks after the ace in round 1, and still a fantastic performance out of him.
Oh, for sure. And like I said, we talked about the current streak that Onyx is on right now, and we kind of discussed and bring up the fact that, hey, if they don't lose that round, if he doesn't die for that early first blood in the, I believe it was round number 3, I mean, like I said, he could be at streaks right now. Like I said, he's at 7-2, halfway there, but generally, a gunfight goes his way if he plays a little more passively in bottom ship. You could be looking at a whole lot more positives right now for the guys on PrimeChamps, but looking on, and for those who might be a little bit unfamiliar with a lot of these players, of course, if you just watch where they're competitive, these are basically the search and destroy gods. I mean, for the most part, these guys are on World War II playing this game mode every single day. Quite literally search and destroy gurus as PapiWrek plays the timing out well, takes out Cannify, as he's definitely having a little bit of a slow start at the moment. Of course, right now 1-5 in this match, but the level of kind of competition, the strats, the level of knowledge that all these players have in search and destroy is very, very impressive. And speaking of that, PapiWrek tries to find the 3rd. GloFrostyyy will have another opportunity at life as he peeks his head out, has the sniper bullet whistle past the ear before he can even dwell on it. It's some shots from the PPSH in the back lines as he will fall just like that. And Onyx does stay up here. Takes out Frostyyy. And that's another round, of course, going toward the way of PrimeChamps, as they're having quite a few positives right now here, Jen. Of course, up 4-1, but we were kind of discussing, we were talking about in their prior series for the guys on West Coast, how every time that Cannify would either have a slow map or have a strong performance, that was usually how the team did. Like I said, if he was dropping 14 to 15 kills, which obviously isn't going to happen every time, his team was seeing quite a bit of success. On St. Marie-du-Mont for map 3, he plays very, very well. Ends up going like 7-1, something like 8-1, something along those lines, and they obviously win the map because of it. And right now he's 1-5, and they only have 1 round to show for it. I mean, really, BigBobbyJinx is the only guy getting things done, and also TTinyy as well. But they're just really kind of having just a 2-man effort. I mean, it's a constant 2v4 when you really look at the overall scoreboard.
Well, also that PrimeChamps are playing a very solid offense, and this is a very defensively favored map, and the fact they're able to pick up so many offenses, able to utilize the sniper to their advantage and get the objective down like they did in the last round, leaving again Frostyyy in this 1 versus 3. I believe it was probably like that in the last round or in previous rounds. He's got a tough task and a very impossible one at fact, and 5-1. This looks like a pretty easy gliding map here for PrimeChamps, and I would say this is most likely done with unless there's an amazing comeback coming out of West Coast. But yeah, Ardennes Forest will be your next map if it does get to that, or when it eventually gets to that, and where I believe West Coast can have a better showing when the snipers are not as heavily depended on like in this one.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something to be looking at, is I believe actually taking a look at Onyx's point of view for a moment, does have these streaks But speaking of Ardennes Forest, I mean, honestly, looking around 7, it obviously looks like that's obviously going to be a big map when it comes down to this series, especially for West Coast being down the way that they most likely will be. We talked about offensive execution. You were discussing how talented PrimeChamps have been so far in this match. I mean, Ardennes Forest is really about offensive execution. If you kind of play the timing out well, you can just destroy teams and really walk away with easy plants on either A or B, excuse me, on those bomb sites. And right now, it seems that they are succeeding in that particular role. Zaptius puts on the suppressor just to make the presence known that he's in the back lines, finding 2 quick kills for spree for him. As we'll see if he can find at least the 3rd player just off toward his right. Isn't able to spot him out. TTinyy will succeed in that gunfight. PapiWrek seeing both dolphin dives coming up from TTinyy as potentially for the map. We'll see what he can try and do here. And he's got some work to try and take care of. 2 enemies, a bomb in his back, and a sniper in his hands. As it will be Cannify and TTinyy left up. And you see PapiWrek just kind of firing out those bullets, just trying to make his presence known. Maybe trying to bait out an enemy to try and challenge him. As keeping in mind, though, PapiWrek not too far off streaks as well. Of course, about a little over halfway. Goes with the quick scope on a Cannify. However, the round will expire before anything can really get done. So a 2nd round finally chalked up here for the guys on West Coast as they're just trying to take these as often as they can. I mean, you really see in that 2v1 scenario, those 2 guys aren't even trying to challenge. They're just like, okay, let's just try to get this round. Like nobody died. We're not taking any risks right now. We're just trying to kind of pave our way back into this. And it is going to be a much more difficult road as the responding rounds will obviously begin to take place. We hop in toward round 8, and it will be the guys from West Coast off the start here on A. But it looks like BigBobbyJinx does find a nice kill there early on. The first blood found. That one onto the hot man in this map 1. That one on Onyx.
Well, pretty successful there as well. Like throwing a nade off the bat on U.S.S Texas, not usually one to find a kill first, but wow, the collapse of kills coming in from PrimeChamps, playing this extremely aggressive and close it out after West Coast looked like they were trying to shine a beam of hope that they were going to climb back into this one. PrimeChamps shut it down in less than 30 seconds, where we will head into Ardennes Forest with PrimeChamps in the series advantage. But I think that West Coast will be able to show a little bit more potential on that map, as I've said before.
Yeah, like I said, it's definitely possible, but I know you were kind of discussing throughout a lot of this, U.S.S Texas game where it was a matter of just, offensive plays, playing very smart. I mean, we literally started off round number 1 with Onyx finishing off with a big 1v1, or 1v3, excuse me, along with finding an ace in that round, which definitely kind of gave his team quite a bit of momentum. There were different moments where PapiWrek was going on a streak, SSaggioo was going on a streak, Onyx was kind of getting back to streaks as well, and it was just a matter of them kind of catching a lot of momentum, and they're just kind of running with it. And obviously, it was West Coast who winning, like around here, around there. Of course, it only goes to 8 rounds in total. But generally, now looking at Ardennes Forest, we were kind of discussing, I know you were bringing it up as well, Jen, the offensive execution was quite literally flawless when it came down to U.S.S Texas. For the guys on PrimeChamps, kind of playing things out very, very well. TTinyy sniper rifle wasn't a problem for them whatsoever. And now loading into Ardennes Forest, which of course is a very, can be defensive heavy map, but if you play the offense right, you toss up the smokes, you do well with the utility, you can kind of walk in through that mid street, kind of through inside of you, or kind of obviously kind of toss out that smoke toward backside bridge. You can easily walk in toward cabin as well. So it's going to be a matter, I think, when it comes to both these teams on offense, is whether the strats are going to be out. I mean, when I say the strats, I mean basically the offensive execution. Is it going to be the smokes? I mean, is it going to be just kind of relying on those first picks? I know for at least the guys on West Coast, which can worry me a little bit, is relying too heavily on TTinyy sniper rifle. Granted, he obviously is a very talented guy with that particular weapon, and you can get some work done with it. I want to say that we got to watch them at Ardennes Forest, and he was sniping through mid-street and was trying to find a few picks, and obviously they do kind of progress, but generally, you can't be relying on that sniper rifle too much. It's obviously, a major blessing when you're finding picks, but, there have been a lot of players in the past, and, a lot of guys will kind of bring up that sniper rifle can kind of be, a little bit of, it's kind of like too much of a positive for people sometimes. They just don't want to let it go. It's like you can't, you obviously feel really good when you find a pick with it, and you just don't want to drop it. So I'm a little bit worried for West Coast, of course, being down. They only win 2 rounds in map 1. The sniper rifle, which can be probably used a little bit too often for them at certain moments. And with, like I said, how well that PrimeChamps were in their offenses, how they're going to do to Ardennes. Because, like I said, if you win your offenses quite a bit on this map, now you obviously go to defense. You're playing pretty well also. So, I don't know. I feel like West Coast can do this. It's just going to be a pretty difficult task.
Yeah, you summed it up great, and I hope they pull out some interesting strats. Love to see the smoke, especially on Ardennes Forest, cut off mid-map. And West Coast, I don't think they're that much of an aggressively playing team, especially against Prime Champs. I mean, we only got to see U.S.S Texas, where that playstyle doesn't really favor that map too much. But, of course, now TTinyy might be shying away from the sniper rifle, unless he's going to be watching towards cabin side, and maybe that'll be a lane that he can watch over. But still, this is going to be, I think, more about the aggressive sub work heading towards B, and which defensive team can successfully hold those rounds. But it's usually the offense that have a tougher job, especially on Ardennes Forest, just like U.S.S Texas. But Prime Chance taking that 6-2, very experienced and obviously a dominant team here in Search and Destroy. Where West Coast, I thought they were going to make it closer. We're still waiting on the lobby to set up just a few more players, but let us know your predictions in the chat. If you guys think West Coast might be able to bring this back, I believe this is semis, and whoever wins this this series will move on to grand finals. So Prime Champs could be one map away, or maybe this could go to map 3. And honestly, I think West Coast will have a showing here.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, it's the semis right now. Of course, here for the UMG Prime at $25 Search and Destroy, loading in for some Ardennes Forest as Prime-Champs currently find themselves in a 1-0 advantage. And of course, it's myself, Lando, joined alongside by Jin, aka Lemon Kiwi from home, to provide you guys the coverage as well as the action here as TTinyy already kicking things off. After dropping map 1, only winning 2 rounds, finding a quick hat trick, and once the ace at that, can he do it the long distance? He's feeling confident. He's got the machine pistol in his back pocket, trying to re-challenge on Zaptius, and he's feeling literally all the confidence in the world right now. Jumps off the bridge, and that's a way to bring yourself back, not just into a map, but in this series as well. TTinyy finding all 4 kills in quick succession. Yet again, Jen, another ace to start off a round 1 in this series. Last time, it was Onyx actually on U.S.S Texas. This time, though, for the opposite end of West Coast, it's TTinyy to kick things off.
Yeah, no, TTinyy was hunting everybody down that map. I guess he forgot what the game mode was. He's playing very savagely. And like you said, round 1, 2 aces in both round 1s that we saw, except the other one was from Onyx. So West Coast get to celebrate that ace with a quick round 1. Prime-Champs now onto the offensive, and Onyx will have the bomb here. And they're making a solid middle map push, but of course, being very slow and methodical about it, where West Coast have 2 players over at B and 1 pushing mid-map, where BigBobbyJinx able to pick up Zaptius from the middle, finds the second one out to Onyx. Huge advantage there for the defensive team so far, looking for that 2-0. PapiWrek, the last one left after Frosty. I mean, takes away the possible ace from BobbyJinx there, but nonetheless, again, a very fast round there for West Coast to win.
And I believe there's a little bit of a glitch that actually happens for those who might be a little bit unknowing of it. I actually saw Aqua tweeted out, of course, player for Echo Fox, tweeted out basically saying that whenever you actually have a variant machine pistol out, sometimes in Search and Destroy, it can actually, the player models like ARM can kind of cover half your screen. So maybe some of these players might be learning that. I know that it's a recent patch that's kind of annoying. So it happens only at certain occasions, but I noticed it actually in that last round there. So kind of unfortunate, especially when you're in a big tournament like this. But notice the strat off the break. TTinyy does have that sniper rifle through middle, not playing the aggressor role off the start, and maybe tries to counter the enemy, but in reality they have a stun ready and waiting to fall at his feet. Sniper rifle basically becomes useless. And now on defense, the team, or excuse me, now on offense, excuse me, for the guys on West Coast, relying on a first pick, they're not able to find it. And now you find them in an awkward position because Zaptius is lingering through middle. TTinyy still trying to get some work done with that sniper rifle, but he's not finding anything. And him being a very important player to keep alive at the moment is very worrying because now he doesn't really have a weapon to show for it. Trying to kind of stay at a distance. But like I said, that kind of early stun off the start really kind of sets back the guys from West Coast. And now SSaggioo just has to be wary. Maybe trying to get a line sight onto top bunker. Okay, now I see. He has to be wary now that TTinyy does have a sniper inside a bunker. And now it's going to act as a little bit of a bait. Cannify lingering through mid-map. He's going to spot out 1. Zaptius totally caught off guard as 2 players watching the exact same point of view. They thought a rush was happening at any moment when in reality it was coming through middle. And TTinyy does find a headshot onto SSaggioo. Does have 2 enemies left in his way. Keeping in mind, though, how important this plant is. Does earn streaks off of it. So despite them potentially losing this round, it's a factor of having a big moment like that. TTinyy, I thought, had a moment to maybe get that collateral. I don't believe Onyx did receive any damage from it, as they'll walk away with the round victory. It's still somewhat of a positive in the back pocket for West Coast, as TTinyy did earn both that glide bomb and the fighter pilot.
He Streaks is, or TTinyy is on a roll with streaks. Starts the first round with an ace, and now earns himself some streaks after that one. And although, yeah, you're okay with losing that round if you got streaks, it gives them a huge advantage in the upcoming S&D rounds, whatever information and kills they can get out of that. And with an open map like Ardennes Forest, it's certainly a much more possibility than U.S.S Texas having streaks on that. Nonetheless, Zaptius will have the bomb, and they're heading towards A, and BigBobbyJinx will be on the other side here. They're not going to be hearing themselves, but streaks coming down here from TTinyy. Oh, no. And it actually kills his own teammate who had not entered into cabin quite yet. So an unfortunate use of streaks there. 3 versus 2, still the advantage here for West Coast. Yeah, as SSaggioo will be the last one here. 1 versus 3, sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, I was just going to point out, though, I think that in the end for TTinyy, like, you kind of utilizing that streak, I mean, some positive you kind of take out of it was that, you know, if BigBobbyJinx kind of dies in that situation, at least he has like an immediate streak to take him out. That's kind of like the only thing you can really kind of take from that round as far as like the glide bomb kind of becoming a factor. But, you know, SSaggioo obviously ends up dropping. It obviously does equal up to a West Coast round victory in the end. So while glide bomb does get utilized, it obviously takes out a teammate there, at least able to kind of hold things in the end here for the side of West Coast. TTinyy does end up staying up. You know, along with that, a third round found here for the guys on West Coast. It looks like now an offense making their way toward B. We saw them obviously toss out a smoke that they had obviously had to face off against on that A-bomb setup, but now switching things up. They've been kind of relying, like I said, in their last offense, they relied heavily off of TTiny's performance, trying to find a sniper kill, trying to find a first blood as they kind of force their attention toward B, but they're really relying on that first kill to happen inside of middle. It looks like trades are starting to happen. The fighter pilot comes forward and doesn't gain a whole lot of information as SSaggioo finds a quick view on the flank. Cannify is able to finally stop the bleeding for the moment, but not for much longer as he'll get dropped. But talk about a flank, talk about a swing here at the end. It's just a load of momentum that has to be gained as SSaggioo just totally ended the round before it even started. And Onyx just needs a bullet to finish off the final player.
Yeah, SSaggioo, great flank, as you already mentioned, coming through the cabin side, knowing that the other team here of West Coast like to sort of just watch mid and push through B every single time. So just an interesting strat to try something new. And what came out of that is 3 kills and the round win for his team, and only 1 round differential between these two teams. So this was a very important round for them to win. Zaptius bomb in hand. They want to try their hand at the cabin side again. Cannify will be at the head glitch. BigBobbyJinx comes from mid. This is going to be a collapse here for West Coast. Can they get the kills to translate it? Cannify, SSaggioo with the trades, still looking to get inside of cabin. However, the bomb planter goes down, and SSaggioo is not really ready for the trade. BigBobbyJinx goes for the dolphin dive, and SSaggioo is now pinned between 2 members. But here's our Lord and Savior PapiWrek coming through mid-map, able to find GloFrostyyy, but after that, not really much. It's 3-3. Numbers are evened out.
Yeah, they absolutely were, and I was a little bit worried when it came down to SSaggioo and Co, of course, from the set of PrimeChamps. Of course, they try to make their way toward this A-bomb site yet again. They toss up that smoke, but they kind of realized, I think, throughout that round, kind of in the middle of it, that they have to be a little bit more wary of kind of watching every single corner, because once they toss out that smoke, there's actually a few players kind of lingering around that stacks area who kind of make it behind enemy lines. I believe it was, might have been like PapiWrek, or I can't remember who exactly it might have been. But who's kind of like behind that back stacks and nearly kind of ruined the round for them. But regardless, though, the guys from PrimeChamps trying to rebound, trying to obviously bank off of that last round victory. But it seems that the strategies are switched up for both these squads, kind of forcing the issue on different bomb sites when it comes down to their offensive situations. But TTinyy and Co, for the set of West Coast with a current man count advantage, shots being tagged up through mid, and now in toward you. The final player does get picked off, and now a 4-3 round advantage. We'll see Frostyyy pick up the final 2. Solid placement here with that FG instead of B-Dom. This is just a scary kind of position to hold. I know, Jim, we talked about the FG42, of course, that's just so much stronger now since the patch. And when you got head glitches like that, I mean, when you really kind of look at Ardennes Forest as a total, I mean, there's just so many head glitches where assault rifles can just roam and just dominate. And that's just one of them just fully on display there.
Well, I think as I've said before, this West Coast team is definitely, this is definitely the map that they're going to shine on, and already with a 1-round advantage, it's looking good for them. Zaptius will have the bomb, but look, TTiny's so pushed up here for the defense, and this could punish him severely, and he does. Gets first blooded there by the bomb carousel. An unfortunate push for the defense. They'll have to go into this with only 3 players versus 4 of the offense. where they're still committed towards the B-bomb site here, but West Coast maybe possibly sending a player towards mid and on a flank. So they'll have to be wary of BigBobbyJinx on that side, but slow methodical push here and not deciding to rotate quite yet. They want to check out mid-map, and it's going to be BigBobbyJinx waiting for them. And GloFrostyyy also picks up SSaggioo. PapiWrek with the trade as well, and still a very slow push, and this might actually end up punishing PrimeChamps if they don't execute it on this objective soon. But now the rotation for A coming in, and the defense still checking out B, but a quick rotation over at A, but they get stopped here by Onyx, which only leaves GloFrostyyy in the 1 versus 2.
GloFrostyyy trying to provide, of course, his gamer tag does sync up pretty well when it comes down to this map. Feeling quite at home. But FG42 in hand might have spotted PapiWrek going through that mid-fire area. Spots him running toward mid-B, and this is honestly a great opportunity for Frostyyy. He realizes that, hey, one player's on the opposite side of the map. I have perfect opportunity to kind of find this 1v1 engagement. Trying to limit him, trying to shut him down, and just exactly that. Shuts down Zaptius. Potentially had the opportunity to shut down the final player, but it's not going to come through, as PapiWrek will be here for the pickup in the end. As that was just kind of a risky play. At the worst time possible, Frostyyy goes for the pickup of the bomb and does get dropped for it. But I think for the side of West Coast, what they have to be kind of wary of, and especially TTinyy, right? I mean, if TTiny's not either in your face, he has a sniper rifle at distance. And that's kind of what PrimeChamps realized. They got PapiWrek on that sniper. He was watching through mid, didn't have any duels. So I think once he realized that nothing was happening from afar, they got to realize that, hey, it's a little bit too quiet from afar. We got to be watching our flank. We got to be watching kind of, you know, what could be a early first blood. And I think they do that very well. They kind of realize that TTiny's not with a sniper rifle, probably playing up close. They obviously limit him for that first blood and kind of play the timeout well, kind of play passively. And they bring themselves now back to a level playing field. 4-4 now heading in toward round 9. No one dead as of yet. TTinyy trying to change that though. Has the PPSH in hand, kind of babysitting the bomb planter along with his teammate Cannify. He's trying to clear out this backside position. They're doing a fantastic job at it. TTinyy does find both. Half the lobby has nearly fallen. And Frostyyy getting that bomb planted as him and Zaptius, or excuse me, both Zaptius and Onyx now left in a position to try and clutch. However, one falls, and now Zaptius 1v2 shuts down TTinyy. And this one is still possible when it comes down to cabin. If you lock some position down inside of that mid-bomb area, you can definitely do it, but Zaptius finding 2 out of the 3. Unfortunately for him, though, it's not going to come home, as Frostyyy will make it work. He's got pretty solid experience when it comes down to the PO8 on Ardennes Forest. As West Coast now find themselves at a 5-4 advantage right now here, Jen. 1 round away from forcing that map 3 on London Docks.
Yeah, and a pretty maybe a positional mistake from the side of PrimeChamps, leaving their middle map open to allow that West Coast. I think it was TTinyy that came around and got 2 players off the bat just through that flank. So if PrimeChamps would have been watching mid, this would have been a much more solid defense out of them. But now onto the offense, like you said. PrimeChamps are in the series advantage, 1-0, but now in a deficit in this S&D where it could possibly go in this round 11 direction. They look like they want to force it. They get that first pick onto TTinyy, who's 9-6, and still trying to force the objective here. They find a second kill onto Cannify, who's coming through K's. Look at these patient plays and actually punishing West Coast for overextending like that into their base. But now pushing through mid-map, they want to head towards B. They find a kill on GloFrostyyy. BigBobbyJinx left in a 1 versus 4.
Give it to me.
Tough job. No, not able to do it.
Big plays coming in from this man, PapiWrek. A constant nuisance through mid-map. I believe finds, what, 3 kills in this round? The hat trick to force the OT. I mean, honestly, throughout this entire round, I think it was the guys from PrimeChamps who were just like, okay, what are we going to do with this objective? Let's try to rely on PapiWrek to find a pick. And he does more than that. He literally finds more than enough kills when it came down to that last offensive round. But having to now revisit it. What are they going to do here when it comes into offense? Do they go for the aggressive rush? And it looks like that's definitely possible. Off the break, Onyx going for the initial play. TTinyy realizing such. Actually hits a sniper rifle in his back pocket. TTinyy pulls out the sniper rifle here for OT. And we'll see if that strategy will work out well for them. As you see, Zaptius really has to be careful. His life is incredibly important. We'll be realizing that has to make his way through mid-map. Gets the great timing. BigBobbyJinx gets dropped, and now if you're Zaptius, you're maybe calling it to your teammates saying, hey, I have the bomb. We can make this push toward A. There's no one back here anymore. maybe realizing that the enemy could be thinking the exact same thing. They forced their way back toward B. Onyx, along with player number 6, PapiWrek, holding up close, but Cannify drops Onyx a 3 versus 3 now.
Well, this is exactly what West Coast wanted. It was PrimeChamps to get the first blood. Now to even up the numbers. Zaptius, for some reason, trying to go for the engagement. Should be focusing on the bomb plan, hoping PapiWrek picks up the kill. But Zaptius rotating towards mid. He could get caught in a bad position if TTinyy spots him. Doesn't have... And SSaggioo is going to be joining his side here, watching mid-map. And TTinyy might have spotted a player rotating through A, and they now have that information now that the bomb is planted. Zaptius is going to go to that top head glitch, and now you can see this collapse from West Coast coming through mid, but it's going to be PapiWrek with the sniper across the map who's going to be watching cross. Now this could be a really bad position here for West Coast. They're both stuck middle map and could be spotted out. They avoid the sniper rifle shots. GloFrostyyy pushes into cabin, gets picked, and what an amazing round 11 win here for PrimeChamps.
A huge victory comes forward here for this group, right? I mean, they win this one in OT, along with winning this series, of course, now in a 2-0 fashion. We were kind of discussing heading into, what was it, round 10, like West Coast, probably going to force the map through. Let's kind of get our mind focused on some London docks, but that's not the case whatsoever. But I kind of want to talk about that last round, as I know we're going to get the kind of final scorecard up for you guys as well to kind of break down what exactly happened as far as the, kind of momentum and the round-by-round kind of count. But generally, when it came down to that overtime round, because essentially what we're looking at is PrimeChamps. They're back on offense after already having a successful kind of round coming in from PapiWrek. He does a lot of work with that sniper rifle. What they kind of do is they're kind of forcing their shit. They're kind of realizing, hey, let's kind of evaluate what's happening in this round. They realize, at least off the start, TTinyy does not have the aggressive rush. He kind of lingers toward B, makes his way through mid bridge, and I believe him and PapiWrek might have gotten a sniper duel, or at least they realize where his kind of position is at. So once that happens, they try to force their way into the B-bomb site. They have like a 3v3 advantage. They're realizing on PapiWrek, they're kind of relying on him to kind of have that vision kind of in top B-dom. Once he doesn't spot anyone there kind of for the time, they're thinking, okay, hey, we have them in a spot where they're paused. They don't exactly know what we're going to try to do. They're probably waiting for us to make a play. So while they're paused, while the enemy's kind of waiting around, what they do is they make that quick rush into the A site. One kind of guy makes the quick little rush. He makes his way in toward A, and they have nothing to really go off of. And that was the major issue for the guys on West Coast because, granted, you have everyone looking at the exact same thing. I mean, no one was really looking at a different point of view. They were almost kind of waiting for that bomb to get planted to kind of force that B-bomb site as a team. But in waiting for that moment to happen, I think PrimeChamps just had that intuition in Search and Destroy to realize that, hey, they're waiting for us to make a play. Let's catch them off guard. Let's kind of distract them and make that one position that they're all hanging out in. Make them have to kind of get out of their comfort zone. Make them have to kind of get out of that kind of camp that they're kind of hanging out in. Once that happens, the bomb gets planted and they get totally caught off guard. You see kind of PapiWrek make his way back through middle. He finds a middle sniper kill, and from there, they just get absolutely ruined kind of throughout this. But major props to PrimeChamps, of course, for kind of making this comeback here, as we'll obviously be able to witness what exactly happened as far as the overall kind of scorecard for this round. You see obviously back and forth for the most part. It was the guys on West Coast who had a pretty decent advantage. They were up 3-1, and then kind of overtime, we obviously get to witness the kind of clutch round start to take place. I know we kind of discussed throughout round 9 essentially was the last round that we see West Coast kind of grab. It's the final two that obviously do matter the most in the end as PrimeChamps, just like that. I mean, like I said, it was kind of a very kind of fast round. I mean, I was personally thinking West Coast feeling pretty good. They're probably got their ticket booked here to the map 3. Not the case. PrimeChamps are there to kind of ruin the party, and it's SSaggioo and PapiWrek who finish off 9 kills in total. And PapiWrek, though, pulling out the sniper rifle at the end. I mean, he was to me the major difference maker. I think since he switches to that class, it totally kind of changes up the overall strategy. Him finding that big hat trick in round 10, and then obviously kind of being that main vision guy to kind of gain information for them at a long range was very, very crucial.